All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell podcast. Thanks for taking your time to be here. We appreciate all of you guys that take your time to listen to our podcast, to trust us with your health and fitness. Those of you who are watching this on the YouTube are getting a little special treat today. You already know who our sponsor is today.
That made me feel weird having those on.
We've got Eclipse Fever over here. Who's our sponsor, Blakely?
Eclipse glasses. I just checked the serial number, and they're legit. We're protected.
I'm gonna take these off because I can't see anything.
It made me feel weird putting them on without seeing anything. Maybe you're not supposed to do that.
But we're ready to go. We are ready to go. These are the official Wimberley, Texas branded glasses we picked up at the Ace Hardware or somewhere in town.
Yeah. They got the latitude and longitude of the city or wherever the eclipse is going over or something on them. We're ready. So our measly little town and house here is in the path of totality. And it has been causing quite a stir here. Actually, for the last 3 months, this town has been prepping us for what is to come on basically starting tomorrow. Today is Thursday, starting tomorrow.
Actually, when we went to the grocery store on Tuesday of this week, they were already out of ripe
bananas and
weird things
like chicken stock. And I really I'm excited to see the totality. I just do not like mass chaos situations where people, and the reason that this mass chaos is maybe it is going to, I have no idea what's going to happen, but
this is one of the reasons we moved out of Houston was
we're probably confusing people. Aside from the eclipse, we obviously know what the eclipse is going to be. The path of totality is pretty small, and there's very small towns between we live west of Austin, and they're expecting it to come across these little small towns, and they're expecting 1 million people to flood into these small towns, spread out between all the cities, and that's a lot. We live in a town of 2,900 people, and even if they're saying 50,000 visitors come over the weekend, it's going to cause some major disruptions in a city that usually can hold 5,000 to 7,000 people max, on a busy weekend. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. We probably people are what?
Out of our podcast listeners, who else lives in a city that's going to get totality?
Because I know it's going to go across the entire, from Mexico across the entire United States. So
so send us a message on Instagram if your town is in totality, and I want to know what it's like there too. Are people freaking out there too? Are they buying out the groceries?
So this is what came out. This paper is maybe 2 or 3 months old that they started the hype about this eclipse. But let me just read you a little part of this because it's hilarious. I hope it's hilarious.
We never even said what this podcast is going to be about, but we'll get to that in a second.
Local citizens are advised to shop, fill prescriptions, stock up on water, food, and pet supplies the week before. Gas tanks should be filled. Wireless disruptions are to be anticipated. There could be potential issues with debit and credit card processing. Have cash on hand. Traffic is going to be expected pouring into the Hill Country on Friday, April 5th. That's tomorrow. Restaurants will be overwhelmed and will run out of food. Gas stations and stores will be very busy. Businesses that are not essential to tourism will be closed. Doctor's office and pharmacies will not be open. They actually have already closed the schools. Citizens are advised to review and update their family emergency plans and to build home safety kits that will sustain them for the 4-day event.
Starting tomorrow.
Police, fire, and emergency medical services will take a long time to arrive due to traffic and increase in calls. Local citizens should have a plan. Eclipse glasses are now available for purchase.
We got ours. So we have 6 dozen eggs, 30 pounds of oatmeal, 2 bags of rice, and 20 cans of beans. We are ready to go.
The other thing, the other recent article in the paper that really made me kind of mad was they listed all the events, and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on this weekend. This town does a market days once a month where a lot of people come in for shop. People buy the crafts and stuff. They're having a street dance. They're having tons of live music events. They're having a car show. This thing called Coffee and Cars that we like to go to. Anyway, so they here's all the events in Wembley this weekend. Residents are advised to stay home
so that all the visitors
can enjoy these events.
Yeah.
I think it's so rude.
So rude.
It's so rude.
But I kind of want to go out and see what it's like. So unfortunately, the road to town is this pretty treacherous 2-lane road. We can't ride our electric bikes into town.
No shoulder.
It's too far.
Anyway,
what's going on in your neck of the woods? Let us know. Okay, but today's podcast topic
goodness.
is 6 steps to future-proof your body and mindset. I like this.
I do, yeah.
I like this idea. What is future-proofing? Future-proofing is really the process of planning ahead and anticipating what your future is going to be like, what are your needs going to be, and then doing things today that set you up for success for those events of the future. So we're going to talk about what do we need to do today to
Okay.
future-proof our body and mindset, knowing that that's coming. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about like some examples of how we future-proof other parts of our life.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but my phone is your old phone. It's getting pretty old and it's getting pretty
Ooh,
full.
so I get a new phone soon.
I always get your hand-me-downs. But I know everybody listening to this has run into this situation. Your phone is full. How frustrating is that? You can't even take a picture without going in and deleting
another
something
picture.
else. You need to get a new phone. So you
Yeah.
start scouring all the options and you see, oh man, these phones are really expensive. Oh, here's one that's not that expensive. It's the same size as what I have now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be right back in the same situation. I better future-proof my decision with this phone, spend a little bit more so that I can get a longer life out of this phone. You're future-proofing that decision. Or you're trying to buy shoes for your kids who are growing like a weed. You take them to the store, you try on one that they really like, and it's like already the size that they need. If you buy that shoe, you know they're going to need another pair in 3 weeks, 4 weeks as they're continuing to grow. So you future-proof needing to buy another pair of shoes by leaving a little bit of wiggle room in there. You're planning ahead. And this is what we have to do
Planning ahead.
with our health and fitness if we want to live an active, long life. So we're going to break this down into 2 categories, like we said, your body and your mindset. And we're going to give 3 steps you need to take for each to make it happen.
All right.
You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's dig into the mindset first. And anybody who's listened to a lot of these podcast episodes won't be surprised to know that a lot of these things are the basics that we continue to focus on, but we're going to put a little bit of a spin on it today. Number 1, realize that no one is coming to save you. If you want
Much
to,
like the article just said.
the roads are full, nobody's coming.
Nobody's coming.
I think that like look at this as like you're the CEO of your own health and fitness. Like there's nobody who's above you who's going to come and like intervene on your behalf to take control of your health. Like there's no secret pill that you can take. There's no passive thing you can do or person you can hire to future-proof yourself. Take extreme ownership of the actions that need to be taken and know that you are the one responsible for doing them. This is like a lot of it is, stepping out of the victim mindset that we're going to talk about, but realize that first and foremost, it's the most important thing.
I feel like that's the beginning of the Dave Ramsey show. Like, take ownership of your, I think he's talking about your finances. But I feel like that wording is in there.
He's constantly saying that nobody's coming to save you with your finances. And a big part of this is acknowledging the fact that you might be somebody who struggles with having perfectionist tendencies that ultimately lead to you self-sabotaging yourself somewhere along the way. So just be okay with that. Realize that you've done that in the past. Throw it out the window. Take extreme ownership over the fact that that's out of your life and you're going to do something different this time. You are the CEO of your life. How's that?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you read the second one so I can take a sip of my coffee?
Stop the start fresh syndrome.
Start fresh syndrome it's an epidemic sweeping the nation. Here's some characteristics of whether to know if you have the start fresh syndrome.
Okay.
You say things like, as soon as I finish this bottle of wine, I'm going to start fresh and not drink anymore. Or as soon as this busy season is over, I'm going to start fresh and really buckle down on my health. You can think of a million different things. This could be a cycle that repeats every week where you feel that you're starting fresh on Monday. This could be a cycle that starts every year when you think you're going to start fresh on New Year's, or it could be every single day you wake up with the intention to start fresh. And at the end of the night, you spiral into the all or nothing mentality thinking, well, I can just start fresh tomorrow. We got to kill this syndrome and know that. Well, let's talk about why this is so bad. It reinforces this cycle of making a promise to yourself, breaking a promise to yourself, making a promise, breaking a promise. It ruins your ability to believe in yourself. If one of your friends did this to you constantly, they wouldn't be your friend for very long because you realize that you can't trust them. Every time they said something, you just kind of shrug your shoulders and be like, yeah, right.
Yeah, it'd
whatever.
be like making plans and then at the last moment breaking them. Be like, okay, well, we'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, oh, well, we'll do it the next day.
Yeah.
Okay. And you
just stop
would, you would
answering your phone.
eventually be like, we're not going to do this thing.
Right. So we got to break this cycle. We need to live in each moment knowing that every decision we make in every single moment is an opportunity to be on track. We got to get rid of this get off track, get back on track mentality, knowing that getting on track really is as simple as making one decision, you're automatically back on track. And knowing that what you do right now, even as insignificant as it seems, is a vote for the result that you want in the future. You're making a decision that is making you become the future version of yourself. So quit like setting a deadline, a goal out in the future where you're going to start fresh, and just do something right now, because that all the right now little decisions are the thing that lead to who you want to become. And if you want to future-proof your life and enjoy a long, abundant life, it starts with what you do right now in this moment. So you don't have to worry about starting fresh. You're in this moment. Start fresh right now.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it lends itself to the concept that you actually stole from our friend Adam Badger, but the thing where you basically reward yourself for these things that you do that you're telling yourself, I'll start fresh after this.
Yeah.
So it's like, the example is you intend to get up and start your workouts at 6 a.m., but you don't. So you continually reward yourself with sleeping in.
Right.
And so that's the reward. It's not, there's no punish, you're not really, it's not like punishment's not the right word, but you're not,
You deal with the
giving
consequences.
yourself the consequence of
Right.
getting up and doing that workout a little tired that day and starting the habit. You're giving yourself the reward of sleeping in. Same thing as like, you didn't prepare ahead and like bring food or make lunch. So you give yourself the reward of going through like a McDonald's drive-through or something, versus like the consequence of like, okay, I'm going to walk into a convenience store and get a banana for my lunch because I did not pack a lunch, and I'm not going to reward myself by going through and getting something that I really want instead.
We can't reward ourselves with positive consequences for breaking promises to ourselves.
But I think I like that concept of like kind of reframing your mind of like, every time we don't live up to a promise that we've told ourselves, we give ourselves a reward instead of a consequence. So teach ourselves like, okay, let's set the alarm and get up. Okay, let's prepare some food because I know I'm going to be gone for 12 hours today. Things like that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Number 3, look for a way, not an excuse.
Like we just kind of alluded to in the last one, like, your future self is going to be a result of all the little daily choices that you make. Those are the little things that add up to the direction of your life. It's the same thing with your finances. Like, there's a better chance you're going to get rich by saving and investing a little at a time than counting on one big lump sum, like winning the lottery or like falling into a windfall or something like that. So if we're going to like string together a lot of good daily choices, we have to get used to overcoming obstacles on the way to doing that. Because like, let's just assume as we're trying to future-proof our mindset, we're not where we want to be. We're trying to get better. So that's going to mean we have to have change. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but change is hard. So we're gonna like encounter these obstacles on our way to change. So we have to like acknowledge the fact that we're gonna feel discomfort when we face that obstacle, and we have to look for a way to do something anyway, despite the obstacle leading us to making an excuse really easily.
We went to a church service last night, and I really liked what he said. He was like, he got up and he was like, "Thank you guys for being here. I know that there are so many things that prevent you from being here." And he kind of listed off like, you're at work and you need to leave to get here in time. You know, you might be hungry. This might be in the middle of your dinner time. Like, there's all these things that you could have let be an excuse to not show up. And he was just like, "I appreciate you being here." Yeah. And I liked the way he said that.
There's a lot of obstacles in your way.
There are, and it really, it's the harsh reality is that like every little choice that we make does matter. I think that we can fall into I can do it next time, or that kind of mentality of like, oh, I'll just go next week.
Or just like finding an excuse to not do the thing.
Yeah. Like this little, someone brought donuts today. This one donut doesn't matter. Someone, asked me to go do this. Like, it's okay if I skip, don't work out today or whatever. And while like, I think singularly those little choices don't matter, but it's the sum of the whole of everything put
Yeah.
together that really does matter.
Yeah, it can really like break your momentum. And if we're like trying to build a strong mindset, we have to know that we are the person who can overcome
Right.
a challenge. Like if you give in every single time you're faced with a temptation or a challenge, like you're never going to have a strong mindset to be able to build a future that you get to enjoy. You're just going to live in this cycle of breaking promises to yourself. And it's all about becoming the person who looks for a way and not an excuse. It's not about being perfect. It's about, switching your brain into problem solving mode when you don't want to do the thing instead of just immediately giving into the thing and feeling like you'll get back on track later. You got to become a habitual problem solver. Like the other day, I don't know, work just got away from us. Like, I don't know. It was just like a bunch of unexpected things happened and we were putting out fires and making progress on things and killing it on work. And then we look up and like we had not worked out. We had planned on working out, or we started to work out and got interrupted, and we had no steps. And that's a big priority to us, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So what'd you do in that case? Did you like say, well, I'll just get back on it and do my steps later, which is really just an excuse because it really was a busy day?
Yeah.
No.
I actually got on the stair stepper and I did 15 minutes, sort of interrupted 15 minutes. And then I did another 15 minutes and, later, like after work, actually went to the grocery store, came back and I got on the thing and did 20 minutes. I was like, I like literally at 5:00, which is pretty rare for me to have such low steps. And I had like 2,700 steps because it was just like head down in work all day mode. And literally the day got away from us. And I was like, I'm not ending this day at 3,000 steps. And I finished with like 10,500, just making a little progress, a little effort, instead of just saying, no, that's it. I can do it tomorrow, which I could, like I'll start fresh tomorrow.
Yeah. And even like outside of the start fresh syndrome, like you looked for a way to squeeze in some activity because it was better than nothing instead of looking for an excuse to just start over.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to like paint ourselves as some kind of pious example of how to do this stuff, but it shows you like most of the time there is a way to make a compromise that's closer to what you had intended to do instead of just looking for an excuse to not do the thing at all. It's about becoming that person. That's how you future proof your mindset.
We've talked about this before, but I like the concept of never missing twice.
Yes.
It's like, don't skip your workout and also skip I don't know how you would frame it.
Be like, I missed my workout. I might as well just indulge it.
Yeah.
Have ice cream after dinner because I already missed my workout.
Yeah. So that was an example of yesterday or the other day, I didn't want to miss, not missing twice. Like I was not going to be able to go and get my full on workout in that day, but I was not going to miss the opportunity to still get some activity in and hit one goal at least.
I like it. Okay, let's recap the 3 steps to future-proofing your mindset. Okay. Number 1, realize that no one is coming to save you. You are the CEO of your health and fitness. Step number 2, stop the start fresh syndrome. Every moment is a chance to get back on track. You don't need to wait for a future time to make a good decision. And then number 3, become a person who looks for a way, not an excuse. Boom.
All right.
Let's move on to how to future-proof your body. I know people are interested in this one.
All right. First one, make daily activity a non-negotiable.
Speaking of steps.
Yeah, that really kind of goes into why we care so much about that kind of thing. It's not,
So are we just obsessed with like getting steps and we like to wear out our shoes as quickly as possible? No, there are benefits to being an active person. If you think about somebody who like, if you're trying to future proof your body, you're picturing yourself out in the future as this healthy, vibrant person who like is, hiking epic mountains in your 60s and your 70s. You're playing with your grandkids. There's no physical limitation on your ability to enjoy life. Picture that person. Do you picture them as a sedentary person who sits in an easy chair all day and doesn't really do anything? No, you picture them as an active person. Yeah. So we want to build that up while we're younger to make sure we have that capacity when we're older. It improves circulation. It improves heart function. Your heart is a muscle. Remember that, guys? When we're active, we're using our heart. It lowers blood pressure. It improves your mood. It strengthens your bones. It improves insulin sensitivity. It improves your immunity to, getting the cold, to getting the flu. It improves joint health. And it's basically like a use it or lose it situation. You want to keep momentum going.
One thing you said in there, improves your mood. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think in turn it improves your sleep.
Amen.
Yeah. So just being active, taking the stress off improves your mood and then improves your sleep, which,
Yeah.
helps that cycle continue.
I tell you what, like there's been several days over the last couple of weeks that I've kind of accidentally gotten more steps than usual. I usually average between 10 and 12,000, and I've gotten 15,000 or more on several days, and I am ready for bed on those days. Like I'm tired,
Yeah.
and I slept better on
Yeah.
those nights too. So you are definitely on to something with that. One of our clients, Jason, he gave a perfect example of this. He does have a step goal. I'm his coach, and we have a step goal just to get all the benefits that I just read through, on top of like the strength training that he's doing and the training he's doing for a race that he's doing this weekend. And he recently went on a trip with some family and friends to Disney. And it's been a long time since I've been to Disney, even though I grew up in Florida, but you walk a lot at Disney, or you have the potential to walk a lot. He was clocking over 20,000 steps per day for several days in a row at Disney. He sent me a message. I should have taken a screenshot of it, but he basically said, I outpaced everyone on this trip. It wasn't like the fact that there was tons of activity and walking, like it wasn't a factor to
Right.
me. I got to enjoy whatever I wanted to. Meanwhile, other people were having to sit down, take breaks. They were wrecked at night. They had no energy to do anything, to go out at night and do stuff. And then when they got back from the trip, they were in like recovery mode for 3, 4, 5 days, trying to like recover from trying to do this extra activity. But since we have a step goal, and since he's doing all the things with us, he got to enjoy the full width of it. And when he got back from the trip, he's like, let's go. When do let's work out on day one. I'm ready to go. I don't need any recovery. This is part of my daily routine, even though it was a little bit more than he typically does.
That's fantastic.
It was a non-event.
That's literally the perfect example of like training for life.
Yeah.
And why we even care
Training
about
for
this
Disney.
and why we do this. No, it's just because you're able to do the things that you have the opportunity to do. Like you gave the example of hiking Epic Mountain. Maybe that's not what we want to do, and that's fine. That we don't. It's what the opportunities that come your way throughout your life, like from today through the many, many years you have to come, to be able to say yes to those opportunities and not have like health or fatigue or inability stop you as you continue to age.
Yeah.
You're like, the grandkids all are going, like perfect example, all the family and the grandkids are all going to Disney. Grandparents are invited.
If you're in your 60s and barely struggling to make it down the hallway.
And if it's like, no question, yes, let's go to Disney. It's just like, you want to be that person that's able to say yes
and just
to whatever you want to do.
To tie it into the like focus of this podcast, you only get to that place in the future if you future-proof your body and mindset. So you can't just like...
You can't get the call to go to Disney and it's in 3 weeks and you start your workout routine and then you feel like Jason did when he comes back, of like, he's able to keep up with the group. He's like, it was no effect on my body. I was just like, let's go. It was a normal, I feel great when I come back. And that's what we want. We don't want to have 2 days of activity and then be super fatigued and unable to function for 3 or 4 days after that.
Claire talked a lot about this when we interviewed her for the podcast. She's one of our clients who's in her late 60s. She trains with Haley, and I mean, she's living the life because of, which is kind of funny because she has an active past, so she probably didn't realize that she was future-proofing herself earlier in her life when she was riding horses, and even when she started strength training. And now just think about the potential she has in her 80s now, being where she's at in her late 60s. She's probably outpacing all of her cohorts and getting more out of life because of what she did in the past and the fact that she continues to future-proof herself.
She specifically talked about recently moving back to Utah. And like, talking about the epic snow that they have in Utah, and in her, I think she's 69. Is that correct? She's able to go skiing, and to add a picture of her with her
she
skis.
said she hadn't done it in like 20 years.
Yeah, she hadn't skied in like 20 years, and she's like, she has been an active person, and she's like, let's trap on the skis and go, and
let's roll.
And was able to go, and that's amazing.
That's what we want. All right, so all that comes partly from making daily activity a non-negotiable for yourself.
So we get kind of some actionable steps about how to do this is like think of activities that are active. Like if you're like, what are we going to do on Saturday? Like
let's go to a state park and walk.
Go to state park and walk and go see some beautiful scenery is an active activity. Like let's go to a movie marathon is a non-active activity, just, and that's just the thing that came to my mind. But, in keeping up with like talking about steps, like I think a good habit to get into is if it is something that you don't have any awareness of how many you get or track, like track it, like, for like a week or so and actually write every day down, because some days you might have a lot and some days you might have none. And so we want to start to like get a consistent amount. Like, okay, I'm averaging 6,500. Okay, so let's like over this next month, let's try to average 7,500, and let's hit that. And then once we're there, okay, let's start to average 8,500 until you get to like 10 or 12. That's where you can kind of, you're not going to add forever, but kind of cap it around there. But like gradually like make yourself a person that is able to like get more steps and to handle more activity every day.
Yeah. If you don't have an Apple Watch or a Garmin or whatever, that's okay. You can get a pedometer for $20 and keep it in your pocket. I don't like getting a bunch of notifications on my phone, so I have my stuff turned off on my watch, but it will still track my steps.
Yeah.
So, don't let not having the technology be a barrier to doing this. Like, or if you don't want the notifications, there's a way to get around that.
Yeah, the little Fitbit things that you wear or whatever. There's so many options. But,
Bring some awareness, try to increase and enjoy the benefits of making daily
I feel
activity.
like we're talking about steps a lot, and there's probably people like this digital barbell where I'm talking about so many steps. But I think it is one of those things that's a low barrier to entry, but that makes such a difference.
Yeah.
If you just make yourself move daily and consistently, and that's some days like I said, some days we don't want to get 10,000, and some days we don't want to get 3,000. We want to level that off and be able to like be moving consistently every day.
Yeah. Can I throw a caveat out there? Because sometimes when we start talking about steps a lot, I feel like we go too far with it, and people will start to cut themselves too much slack for missing their training, saying, well, I didn't get my workout in, but I got my steps in. There is a benefit to getting steps, but let's roll on to number 2.
Yeah,
knowing
I was about
that
to say.
Number 1 is not a substitute for
Yes.
the second way that you're going to
They work
future-proof
hand
your
in
body.
hand. Number 2, build strength, muscle, and capacity.
I think everybody knows what strength is and what muscle is. We're going to talk more about them, but what is capacity?
Capacity is just like your ability to run, to jump, to get up and down off of a floor or something like that, to like go for a long distance, long walks through Disney, to like get into a large truck like a Super Duty with the capacity to be able to do things.
I think about this a lot with like having pets, because you never know what kind of shenanigans your pet is going to get into it.
Ours.
And it might call upon you to do something like
sprint in the middle of in the morning wearing your slippers.
There has been more than one occasion where we have had to run after our dog or pick them up in a moment where there was an emergency situation. And having the ability to do that is having capacity. You're basically like ready for anything.
Yeah.
If you like picture your future-proofed self, big part of that is you being ready for the unknown and the unknowable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we train the way we do.
I think we wrote a post or gave an example of this a long time ago, but I thought of the idea of like you're out on a hike with your dog pretty far out, and they like twist their ankle or break their foot or get bit by a snake or something like that. Do you have the ability to carry this dog off this trail that you just walked like 3 miles in with?
That's a great example.
Stuff like that.
We all unfortunately start to lose muscle even as early as in our 30s. Asterisk by that, unless we actively fight against it. And the fight against it is really pretty simple. There's some main components that you need. You want to train with weights. You need a resistance for your muscles to push against, and you need to eat sufficient calories and protein to build strength and build muscle. And if you think about what leads most people to decline in their old age, is not doing those things that are actively fighting against the loss of muscle and strength. But that's what leads them to being like in an assisted living home or ending up in a nursing home. It's this gradual decline in function, strength, muscle, and capacity. And that is not a future-proof version of yourself.
Yeah.
We want to like go the opposite direction of that. The good news is like if you're in your 30s or in your 40s right now, you have a long way to future-proof yourself for when you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. But if you're in your 60s and 70s, it's not too late. Like there's still progress to be made, and you can stop the aging process essentially. You should definitely go listen to the episode of the podcast with Dr. Jonathan Sullivan, who wrote the Barbell Prescription. His passion is for helping people over 40, basically do this, what we're talking about through strength training.
Yeah.
Just a really good episode on that. So let's talk about.
And check out our Instagram story, because we've been posting a lot of pictures of our clients, specifically some in their 60s and 70s, setting PRs, lifetime PRs in their lifts, which is super exciting to watch.
We see you out there, Bernie.
Bernie did a handstand
among other people
the other day. I was like, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. I put that in the story.
Yeah.
He's climbing up that wall. So what does it take to future-proof yourself by building strength, muscle, and capacity? I would say you need to strength train a minimum of 3 times per week. If you have time to do more, that's great, because sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
And if you're doing more than 3 and you miss, it's not such a big deal.
Right.
You should do short, hard conditioning once or twice a week. This is when you get your heart rate up and it's uncomfortable and you don't want to do it.
But the duration is more like 8 to 12 minutes.
Or even less in some cases.
Yeah.
But you should do that once or twice a week. And then you should go longer, slower, steadier once or twice per week.
Or that duration is like 20 to 30 minutes or so.
And this doesn't just have to be like getting on the treadmill. That's the beauty of our training method too, is you structure these workouts so you get the benefit of the muscle building at the same time that you're working at that slightly elevated zone 2-ish heart rate. Hashtag Digital Barbell secret sauce on that one. But your goal, go ahead.
I was going to give a little sneak peek into what's coming up for our clients, because I'm super excited.
That's why you were so busy Tuesday.
We're starting a new training progression, and on one of the days, there's a choose your own adventure day. And this is kind of lends into what we're talking about right now. And I'm so excited about this. So there'll be like 3 choices. There'll be like a longer, do you need to work on your longer capacity? So that's going to be go long and steady for 20 to 30 minutes. So that can be like go for a bike ride for 20 to 30 minutes, do a jog, things like that. Do you need to work on your capacity to last for 20 minutes? Then I'm going to write a different 20-minute AMRAP. This is where you do as many rounds as possible in 20 minutes, moving steady, of usually like a triplet, like 3 different movements. And so I'll write a new one of those each week. And so that will really let you work on your capacity to like go for a longer duration. Or do you need to work on your sprint work? So then in that case, you'll do like 4 400s, like a 400 sprint interval, rest for like 3 minutes, a 400 sprint interval. Each of these things will take around that 20-minute or so domain, but there's different ways to work on different, whatever, like we have a lot of clients with a lot of variety of needs. So like, which one fits you? And so I'm super excited about this idea. This will be popping up.
That's going to be fun.
On your day 4. So if you don't get day 4, people,
tell your coach.
Tell your coach you want that 4th day.
What about the conversation around like, all right, I'm good enough. Like I'm just going to maintain here as I get older. Well, if we're trying to future-proof your body through strength, muscle, and capacity, the goal really has to be to continue to improve, because we have to fight against the natural decline that's going to happen just naturally. Like it's going to happen. So if we're just trying to maintain where we're at, we're going to end up like regressing automatically because of that natural decline. So we want to be continuing to improve. We want to build more capacity. We want to build more strength. We want to build more muscle as much as we can within the constraints of our genetics and our time and all that kind of stuff. But the goal shouldn't be to maintain. Maintenance is like a great thing to think about. But once we start getting into that maintenance mindset, you'd be surprised how often you really just start to slide back without even really knowing it. So keep pushing is what I'm trying to say.
All right, we ready to move on? Oh wait, how do we build muscle?
I kind of hit on that already. Okay. Like, building muscle and strength is really this cycle of stress, recovery, adaptation. When we talk about that in the capacity of building muscle and strength, it's, the stress is what we do in the gym. It's lifting the weights. It's going for the run. This is the thing that breaks our body down. Then the recovery is sleep, food, protein, all the inputs that we put into our body to cause the recovery. And then once all that happens, we get an adaptation out of it, which is the improvement of getting stronger, getting fitter, all that kind of stuff. So we have to keep repeating that cycle. In practicality, you need to lift weights, you need to do your cardio, you need to sleep 7 to 8 hours per night. You need to eat enough calories, not over restricting yourself constantly, and you need to eat enough protein to give your body the building blocks to build the new tissue that you're trying to build.
I think there's a benefit. I feel like I'm always like pitching our programming, but it's great. It's fantastic. But that's the benefit of doing a structured program, because while we're talking about building strength, we are not always pushing toward the maximum load that we can do for each lift daily, weekly, year, throughout the year. Like that's not all we need to focus on. We'll just wear our body down, our mindset down, so we go through these training cycles of building capacity in all the different areas. So we're going to, we've recently just worked on the building strength and capacity with our clients. So this week they're showing off all these efforts by doing 1 rep max efforts, which has been super exciting. And then we're going to transition. We're still going to be like building strength, building muscle, but we're going to be building capacity in other areas. And I think you just remarked like you hadn't was it the deadlift that you hadn't done? Like,
yeah, actually, with being in the camper for that month and from hurting my back right before we went in the camper, I really hadn't lifted a heavy barbell in almost 2 months.
And you were able to
And I hit
PR.
within 90% of my all-time 1 rep maxes on the squat and the deadlift this week, even despite that.
Because you're still building the capacity and strength through the other things that you're doing. You don't have to be hitting 100% of your squat and deadlift throughout the last few months.
I think we prove that to our clients all the time, and that they're just shocked with how they continue to get stronger.
But I think people are still always confused. They're like, I haven't done this, and I was able to do as much or more, And I think every time it comes up, it blows people's mind. I'm like, yeah, that's the beauty of like structured training, is that you cannot feel like you're working on something, but still be working on something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm thinking about several clients that had kind of that epiphany this week also.
A lot of times with me, it happens with like pull-ups, because since I don't do as much like just like CrossFit Metcons daily, I don't do as many like kipping pull-ups and things like that. And then when the workout pops up that has that in there, and I'm like, oh, I still have the capacity to, cycle through some pull-ups and like keep them going. And it's just like, cool. It's really cool to see how like dumbbell rows and face pulls and all these other things are like strengthening my pull-up work, even though it's not something I'm working on daily. The thing that you lose if you don't work on something like that daily is maybe like some technique that you maybe have to like get up there and refine. Like, okay, let me get the flow back again. Yeah. So, that's the difference of being like, if we were CrossFit athletes, we would be needing to work on those things weekly, of course. But
the weather was beautiful the other day, and we were working out outside. We each had our own barbells, and like after we worked out, I was like, let me go practice some snatches. I haven't done snatches in like 2 years. And like, it's not a lot of weight, but I was able to like do snatches with halfway decent form up to like 135 pounds pretty easily, even though I haven't done them for
he looks really good
a couple of years. So I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about, is like when you build strength and capacity broadly, it still applies to specific things, even if you're not training them all the time.
Yeah. And this is like for GPP athletes, people that we're just out here to be physically fit and capable for life. We're not doing competitions and things like that.
An Olympic lifting total anytime soon.
All right. Last one. Achieve and maintain a healthy body fat percentage.
All right. What does that mean? Everybody knows they need to be at a healthy body fat percentage. Let's talk about what that is and why it matters. Having excess body fat, either the kind on your body that you can see or the visceral fat between your organs, is probably the number one indicator of you being pushing towards metabolic syndrome, which is really this, I'll use a word that I heard at church last night, a cacophony of things that you don't want, metabolic syndrome. We're talking about heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, all the things that claim people's lives too early. And just as importantly as that, they decrease our quality of life as we get older. You're going to spend more time picking up medication at the pharmacy. You're going to spend more time at doctor's offices making appointments for all that kind of stuff. And it's just going to like lower how much you get to enjoy life, because you're going to be less mobile at a heavier body, at a higher body fat percentage, which is going to mean you're heavier. You're going to have less mobility. You're going to have less functional strength. Everything in life is going to be harder because you're carrying around all that extra adipose. So I think we all know it's important, but it can be it's challenging, obviously, to get to a healthy body fat percentage. I want you to listen to episode 326 of the podcast that we did recently. It was really about like, you're working out, but you're not like losing weight, what's going on. And we gave 5 simple steps to fix your nutrition. I think it would be better if you go listen to that episode instead of us rehashing all the things that you need to do to take control of your body fat percentage. But I would say that the goal for most adult males is to get somewhere in the 15 to 20% body fat range, and for most females to get between 25 and 30%. Now, what should you go get a DEXA scan? Should you go do the bod pod or whatever, get some skin fold calipers? Probably not. If you just Google body fat percentage pictures, you'll see some really well-known infographics out there that show, 9 females and 9 males at sample body fats. And they're always a range because this is a subjective, measurement anyway.
Even if you did the
only way to know objectively is they like cut you open after you're dead and weigh your fat. But anyway, shoot for those ranges based on the photos. And, you can be healthy at higher body fat percentages than this, but we're talking about trying to future-proof your body here. So if you can be a little bit more on the athletic side of things, then you're leaving yourself more wiggle room as you get older. Because when you start getting into your upper 70s and your 80s, you don't want to be really lean, because having extra energy around is not only better for your health, but it can help, prevent bone breaks when you fall too. So we don't want you to be frail,
right,
and like 0 body fat percentage when you're older. So we want to start with a little bit leaner body fat percentage as we future-proof ourselves. So we leave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room to add some fat as we get older, just due to the natural decline in metabolism that we talked about earlier. Just some practical things you can take away if you don't go listen to that other episode. Focus on eating a lot of high quality, nutrient dense, unprocessed foods. Less foods from boxes in the center of the grocery store and bags in the center of the grocery store. More foods from the produce, meat, dairy, vegetable, fruit, and grain section on the outside of the grocery store. That's going to push you in the right direction just to start.
Also, making your own food, I think, is
Amen.
Huge,
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thing. Just like throughout your week, prioritizing preparing your own food most of the time.
Yes, that will automatically help you get your energy balance in check, which is the thing that's going to control whether you're gaining or losing weight. Okay, let's recap the 3 ways to future-proof your body. You got your notes there, Handy. What was number 1?
Sorry. All right. Make daily activity a non-negotiable.
#steps.
Build strength, muscle, and capacity.
#gains.
And achieve and maintain a healthy body fat percentage.
#adipose. Actually, that's really
goodness.
like #what do you eat?
Yeah.
I mean, all that comes down to what you're putting in your mouth mostly. Yep. All right. Those are the 6 steps to future-proof your body and mindset. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. That really does help our podcast grow more than anything that we do. My glasses are way over there, so I'm not going to grab them. You guys be safe out there with the
totality,
with the eclipse and the totality. Don't do anything stupid. Our friend Alex told us one time he looked at the sun
don't
during
look at
the
the
eclipse.
sun, even partial.
He was out of commission for a couple days.
He said like a week or so it took him to get full vision back. Don't look at that thing.
Don't do it.
And my mom just told me there's a serial number on these eclipse glasses, so check your guys' glasses, and they have like a government serial number. So I just checked ours. Ours have that serial number. So you want to have like good ones, that serial number right there.
Yeah. What keeps the factory in China just from printing any number that they know?
That's true. Ha, ha, ha.
I'm pessimistic, guys. What can I say?
I don't know.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll check you next time.